The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as the holographic projector flickered to life. Ambassador Zoe Chen stood at the podium, her dark eyes scanning the assembled representatives from 47 different species. Behind her, the blue marble of Earth rotated slowly, seemingly insignificant among the thousands of inhabited worlds in the known galaxy. The human delegation requests reconsideration of Resolution 7749, Zoe began, her voice steady despite the dismissive chittering from the insectoid Krellian sector. High Counselor Vexter, a towering reptilian whose species had dominated galactic politics for 3 millennia, raised one clawed hand. The resolution stands. Human, Earth will surrender 30% of its agricultural output and submit to Council oversight. Your species is young, impulsive, and dangerous. You have been part of the galactic community for merely 2 decades. You will learn your place. Zoe's jaw tightened. She opened her mouth to respond when the chamber doors exploded inward with a sound like reality itself tearing apart. Every being in the council froze. The temperature dropped precipitously, and frost began forming on the nearest consoles. Through the shattered doors drifted something that made even the most ancient species present recoil in primal fear. It was vast and formless, existing in more dimensions than the 3-dimensional beings could fully perceive. Where it passed, space seemed to fold and warp. The entity was older than the Council itself, older than most civilizations in the galaxy. The Krellians called it the Witness. The Vextorians named it the First Observer. Humans, in their limited contact with it, had simply called it the Ancient. The being had not manifested physically in council chambers for over 10,000 years. You dare? The entity's voice resonated not through sound but directly in the minds of every creature present. Several junior representatives collapsed, overwhelmed by the sheer weight of consciousness pressing against their thoughts. Vexter, to his credit, managed to remain standing. Ancient One, this is a matter of council jurisdiction. Silence. The High Counselor's jaw snapped shut involuntarily. The Ancient's form rippled as it positioned itself between Zoe and the assembled council. You know not what you provoke. Ancient One, another counselor, a gaseous being from the Nebula Collective, ventured carefully. The humans are aggressive, expansionist. In 20 years, they've colonized 15 systems. They refuse to limit their population growth. They build weapons that I did not permit you to speak. The Ancient's presence intensified. I came to deliver a warning, not to engage in debate. The entity turned what might have been its attention toward Earth's hologram. 43,000 cycles ago, I watched them. They were barely sentient, throwing rocks at predators. Living in caves, I dismissed them as another species that would rise and fall, forgotten by the cosmos. The Ancient paused, and something that might have been emotion, regret, perhaps, or respect colored its next words. I was wrong. Zoe remained perfectly still, barely breathing as the entity continued. They should have perished 1,000 times. Ice ages that lasted, millennia, supervolcanoes that blotted out their sun, plagues that killed 9 of every 10 impacts from space that shattered their continents. Yet they endured, not through strength alone, but through something far more dangerous. What? Vexter whispered, unable to help himself. Spite. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. When nature said die, they said nitrogen monoxide. When their world froze, they learned to make fire. When predators hunted them, they became better hunters. When disease ravaged them, they learned to heal. When their planet tried to kill them with every natural disaster imaginable, they thrived. The Ancient moved through the council chamber, and representatives scrambled to get out of its path. You call them aggressive. They reached their moon with chemical rockets and metal boxes, driven by nothing but curiosity and pride. You call them dangerous. They split the atom before they learned to leave their atmosphere. You call them expansionist. They are a species that has never, in their entire history, been satisfied with what they have. Ryan Torres, Zoe's military attaché, stood in the gallery watching the proceedings. His hand instinctively moved to his sidearm. Not that any human weapon could affect the Ancient, but old habits died hard. He'd seen combat on 3 worlds during the border disputes with the Krellian colonies. He'd watched his squad hold a position against a force 10 times their size for 3 days, simply because they'd decided that surrendering wasn't an option. The Ancient was right. Humans didn't know how to quit. The Council believes it can subjugate Earth. The entity's voice dropped to something almost like a whisper, which somehow made it more terrifying. The Council is wrong. I have witnessed the rise and fall of 5,000 civilizations. I have seen empires that spanned galaxies crumble to dust. I have watched species that ruled for millions of years fade into extinction. The ancient returned to Zoe, hovering just before her. She met its incomprehensible gaze without flinching. But I have never, in all my existence, encountered a species more fundamentally opposed to the concept of defeat. They do not surrender, they do not submit, they adapt, they overcome, and they remember. Vexter found his voice again. You suggest we should fear them. I suggest nothing, I state fact. The ancient began to fade, its purpose apparently fulfilled. Push them, and they will push back. Corner them, and they will fight with a ferocity that will shock you. Oppress them, and they will spend generations plotting your downfall. The entity's presence diminished, but its final words echoed in every mind present. I warned the Krellian Empire 12,000 years ago about the dangers of hubris. They did not listen. I warned the Vextorian Dominion 8,000 years ago about the price of tyranny. Did not listen. No, I warn you. Never challenge Earth, not because you cannot win a battle, but because humans will ensure you cannot win the war. They will make it their purpose, their obsession, their legacy, and they will never stop. Then it was gone. The council chamber remained silent for a long moment. Zoe slowly approached the podium again, her expression carefully neutral. As I was saying, she continued smoothly, as if an ancient cosmic entity hadn't just crashed their session. The human delegation requests reconsideration of Resolution 7749. High Counselor Vexter looked at her, then at Earth's hologram, then back to her. For the first time in his 300-year political career, he felt something he'd never experienced before: uncertainty. The council, he said slowly, will take a recess to reconsider several matters. Zoe allowed herself the smallest smile. Thank you, High Counselor. We'll be waiting. As the council members filed out in stunned silence, Ryan made his way down to the floor. That was unexpected, he muttered. Zoe nodded, watching the representatives leave. But not unwelcome. Sometimes the universe needs a reminder. A reminder of what? She turned to face the hologram of Earth, that beautiful blue world that had given birth to a species too stubborn to die. That humanity doesn't lose. We just haven't won yet.